8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey y'all. Woo woo woo. Hey y'all. Welcome to the Shine Your Light podcast. Of course, I am your host, Lachelle Hooks. And today, y'all, we have a special show for you guys. We're doing a one-on-one interview with the amazingly talented hip-hop artist, award-winning author, and the owner of the brand Principle. We have Brad Fax in the building, y'all. Hey, Brad.
What's up? How you doing?
What it do? What it
Speak to the
do? Yes.
How you doing?
Yeah, I just love his energy. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, I've been such a fan of this man for so long,
Definitely
y'all.
appreciate that.
So I really appreciate you coming here today and
Thanks for
taking the
having me.
time to be with us
For sure.
today. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it, y'all. So y'all know I always say when you learn something, it's your responsibility to teach somebody else. And that's exactly what this king next to me does. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk about some things that this king has learned. He's gonna deposit into us as the world and God has deposited into him. Amen. So, actually, before we get started, I do want to shout out
Okay.
your beautiful queen. We honor the queens of the
Victoria.
kings.
She at work right now. She over at Mr.
Hey,
G. She at work.
girl.
Yeah,
We
she
honor
work.
the queens of the kings on the Shine Your Light podcast.
Definitely.
So big shout out to the queen. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into it. So this wonderful, amazing man is the author of this book called Courage Under Fire. I do recommend that y'all go ahead and get it. Brad, if they wanted to get the book, where can they get that book?
You can get it on Amazon. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Target, all of those websites.
Got mine off of Amazon. He just autographed it for me.
Mhm.
Amen. All right. This book, y'all, truly allowed me to look at me.
That's deep. I
It
appreciate
caused
you.
so
Yeah.
much self-reflection
Yeah.
and allowed me to begin to check some boxes for
Mhm.
myself, you know what I'm saying, and really assess where I am in a lot of
Mhm.
different areas, which is why I recommend so many people to read this.
Yeah.
You can't help but to get better
Yeah,
after
yeah,
reading
yeah,
this book, you know. So powerful.
That was the goal. I thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh my
Definitely.
goodness, so powerful. So I'm just gonna ask you just a few questions
Okay.
today. A lot of them are relating to the book,
Mhm.
right? So one thing, of course, that I discovered, right,
Mhm.
from reading this book, Courage Under Fire, is that you're a fighter,
Mhm.
right? I think absolutely everyone around you recognizes the same quality in you.
Hopefully.
I think you can't help but to. So just tell us one of the circumstances that were in the book. You actually ended up having 330 stitches.
Yeah.
As a child.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine my son going through
Yeah.
something like that. But you described this circumstance in the book. Can you tell us a little bit about what occurred?
Well, what happened was I got an older brother, and he did what older brothers do: torment, torture, bother, irritate.
Ain't nobody got time.
Shout out to my brother. I love him to death. He know that. He know it. But yeah, he's 6 years older than me. So he was about 15, 16 when this happened. And so what happened was he used to wrap me up in the blanket and drag me around the house because he knew I was scared of the dark.
Ain't nobody got time.
Right. I was afraid of the dark. Like, I was definitely afraid of the dark.
Right.
And to the point where I wouldn't even sleep with the light off unless he was in the room.
Wow.
And I don't even know where the fear came from. It was an irrational fear, like most fears are.
Right.
But
Dropping gems. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So he did this one particular time, and he wrapped me up in the blanket and dragged me around the house, and he pushed me in my room. I didn't really know where I was.
Mm-hmm.
So when he pushed me in the room, I kind of broke out of the cover thinking that he was around. And I grabbed a doorknob
Paint a
and
picture.
it was locked. So I thought, really, he was just holding the doorknob on the other side of the door.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't saying anything. So I'm thinking it was locked. You know, my 9-year-old mind, I rationalized, this is how I'm gonna get out this room.
Right.
So now I'm thinking that he's in the room. And I started swinging. And I tripped and fell and hit a window. And my arm fell on the window. And I jumped up, and it was jagged pieces of glass. First of all, the window broke. It was jagged pieces of glass on the windowsill. And I jumped up and pulled my arm back
9
without
years
even
old.
considering, you know, that the possibility of being cut. So it cut my arm down to the bone.
Jesus.
And I always describe it as kind of like a time-lapse video of a flower blooming.
Mhm.
I just kind of watched my arm open up. It just opened, and I literally looked at my bone. And I screamed my brother's name, and he came rushing in the room. I think he detected the panic in my voice.
Yeah.
And he came in the room, and blood was just shooting out of my arm like a fountain. And it was just nonstop.
Jesus.
He went and got a towel, wrapped my arm up in the towel, and it soaked it up like a wet piece of tissue, like one square tissue up under some water. That's how the towel absorbed the blood.
Mm-hmm.
He did it again. And at the time, we were living on 25th and Center. And it was about 3:30 maybe in the afternoon, almost 4 going into rush hour. And it just so happened the police car was sitting outside in traffic at the light. And he took me outside and flagged the police down.
Thank God.
And they got out the car, and they radioed for an ambulance. And they called the ambulance, and I was going in and out of consciousness. I was pretty much dying. And the ambulance came. They put a tourniquet on my arm, drove me from home to Mount Sinai. And I was hot, cold. I was dying, like I say. So they revived me 2 times on the way to the hospital.
Right.
I got there, they medvac me from
Wow.
from Mount Sinai to Children's Hospital.
Okay.
And I got there, went into surgery. I was in surgery for like almost 11 hours maybe. And I came out, I survived. The doctor told my mom I'd never use my arm again. And I went through a couple of years of physical therapy, cast. It still damages, you know what I mean? I got nerve damage.
Okay.
But I mean, it's fully
It
functional.
looks
so,
fully functional
it's
to me,
definitely fully functional,
Jesus.
yeah,
Thank
so,
God. Thank
yeah.
God. But 9
Yeah.
years old
Yeah.
experiencing that. And I remember y'all in the book, before he went into surgery, his mom was crying and so worried. And he looked over at his mom, was like, I'm good, Mom. I'm good. Not even realizing he was
I didn't
dying,
understand the
Jesus.
magnitude of my
Yes,
my dad, shout out to my pops. He was in the military,
Yes.
Army guy, did 10 years in special forces.
Yeah.
He used to always give me the thumbs up every time,
Oh,
whenever something was good. So when I was about to go into surgery,
Mhm.
my mom, my brother, and my dad was in the corner of the room about to, kind of walk and go as far as they could in the
Right.
hospital before I was going into surgery.
Mhm.
And my mama was crying. I was just seeing she was devastated. I put my thumb like, Mom, okay.
Right.
I really wasn't, you know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to make sure she was okay.
Right.
So I just put my thumb up because I knew that, anytime something was good or gonna be okay, my dad would always put his thumb up to me. So I did that.
I
And
love it.
luckily. But I didn't tell, but the funny thing about this too is I didn't tell my mom what really happened
Oh, you
until
never told her?
until about a decade later.
Okay, you didn't want your brother to get
Yeah, I
in
didn't want to get in no trouble because she was gonna kill him if she knew what really happened. So I made up a story.
Wow.
I made up a story to protect him so he wouldn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until about
Wow.
2000 or 2001 when I told her what really happened. She was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh yeah," because I'm the youngest, so she was gonna
Right.
really make him pay.
Yeah.
As she found out that he had a hand in doing this to me. So
That reveals so many, of your character traits, even at 9 years old, the fact that you know, the number one thing you were focused on was making sure your mom was
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
and
I tried to make sure
also
she was
making sure
good.
your brother wasn't gonna get in trouble,
Yeah,
right? Those were a part of your core values,
yeah,
you know, at the foundation,
definitely.
right?
Yeah.
I love that. So going through, you know, something so traumatic like that, how would you say that impacted your view on life as a child? That was at 9 years old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was the impact at such an early age? We got a timeline for y'all, okay?
Probably. So one thing that happened that I noticed
Yeah.
after the fact was I was no longer afraid of the dark.
Mm.
That fear dissipated. And at the time, I couldn't articulate what was happening. This is all in retrospect, you know,
Right.
me growing and looking back at it. It changed my perspective on even dying to some degree at that young age. And it made me like it introduced me to a level of fearlessness that I don't think most people should ever experience.
Right.
Because, you know, anything that would be detrimental or that could be detrimental to me or somebody, I was willing.
Right.
Like let's go.
You on face death
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
So this
It
is
was like,
nothing.
man, nothing can stop me. Like if I
Right.
beat this, most people don't endure this and come
And
out of
survive.
it better and
Right.
survive. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So when that happened, I was like, man, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And looking back at it, my mom and my dad was going through divorce at the same time.
Mhm.
So that was 91. Their divorce was final in 92. I was done with my physical therapy around the middle of 92, almost 93.
Right.
And so it was a split.
Combination of
Yeah, it was a
things.
combination of everything. So everybody has that defining. I had a few defining moments in my life.
Yeah.
Everybody has that defining moment where they can say my life was like this up until this point,
Right.
and it hasn't been like this since.
Right.
At that time, it was that moment
Right.
where, you know, it's like I embraced all the darkness on every level,
Right.
whether it was just physical darkness, whether it was a mental darkness, whether it was a moral, emotional dark. Like I was drawn to all of that.
Right.
And I can't even really explain why that happened. I just was always the person who was kind of trying to lead the pack. And, you know, I looked at it like, damn, okay. I'm not afraid of nothing no more at all.
Right.
You know, and it led to some detrimental things.
Yeah, I think like they always say, what doesn't kill you make you stronger,
Yeah,
right? The way that you kind of laid out your timeline in
Mhm.
this book showed me your strength, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the man that you are today,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? I respect and honor it. So
Appreciate that.
yeah, so we're gonna get into a couple more things, y'all, now. The pool incident, right? So most young Black men probably all learn how to swim the same way, right? Can you tell us a little bit about your pool incident?
Yeah, so that was so
Somebody done
first of
tossed
all,
them in, y'all. They done tossed them in. What happened?
first of all, I have such a respect for water.
Yeah, I'm a
Like, no
Pisces.
lie.
I'm a Pisces.
No
so
lie. And-
yes,
and- for real.
I do too.
Like because when you think about it, water is not a solid,
everything,
right? It's not a
Right.
solid. But if you fall from far enough and hit water, it'll feel like a solid. Then
Yeah.
you will sink.
yes.
So this same element can carry a ship,
yeah.
but it can also sink the ship too. So it's just
Powerful.
it's just like, man, I
Powerful
never
speaker.
understood how powerful water is.
Right.
Like honestly, and you can't live without it.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the movie The Ring was kind of based on that. Because like if you recall, when the little girl,
in a well.
yeah,
Mhm.
you know, when she said 7 days, you can only go about that time without water before your body starts to change and shut down and you wind up dying.
Wow.
So my stepdad, his father, his mother lived apartment complex down on the east side called Yankee Hill. And there was a swimming pool and exercise area. And I was always afraid to get in the water
Mhm.
because I was just like, man, I'm I was small. The water was too deep for me. I'm like, I'm not messing around. No.
Right. I
He-
can't swim either, y'all. Go
He
ahead.
pushed me in the water. Just out the blue, pushed me in the water.
Right.
And he told me to keep moving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to die. What you mean keep moving?
Right.
He had showed me how to swim before, but not in water. He just showed me what to do, how to move your body, your legs, and your arms. So he said, keep moving. And I wound up learning how to swim like that.
Right.
But I was petrified, though. So it was another moment in my life where I kind of faced the fear and overcame it. And, it just led to, another accomplishment,
Right.
something else that I checked off. So, but I hated him at the time. Like, man, you wrong, bro. You tried to kill me, man. You the second person that just tried to kill me over the past
Ain't
couple of
nobody
years.
got
You know what I'm
time,
saying?
right.
What y'all doing? So,
Right.
yeah.
And that's one of the revelations that you described in a book with that particular incident, is what you actually just said. You talked about how a lot of times fear is just like,
Yeah.
a fragment of our imagination.
Yeah.
Like it's not real.
Things we make up.
Yeah. So
we wonder what's around that corner, and then we start to, I think I know what's around that corner.
right.
And there's
Right.
nothing around the corner.
Right.
So,
These
Yeah.
are things that typically grown men face, and you were facing these things at 9 and 14 years old. And to me, it's just a revelation that was gained from those type of events. Amen. To somebody else, that might have made them, afraid of everything. They may have been continued to be petrified of the dark or petrified of water, but that made
I wanted to
you,
know more.
that equipped you, right,
Yeah.
to face your fears.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
God making power for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Yes. What's the number one thing would you say that your stepdad taught you?
I wish he was watching this too.
Oh,
He not as Facebook savvy as everybody
that's
else.
all
So he'd
right.
be
It's
like,
on
"Tag me in this."
YouTube. We're going to
Yeah,
send it
so-
to him.
But what he always said to me though was, being smart is not showing somebody how smart you are.
Ooh.
And
Let me write that down.
I
Hold on.
said, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, what you mean? If I know something, I'm gonna tell
Yes.
somebody I know it. You know what I'm saying?
Takes humility, though.
Yeah. So I was in school at the time. I was 13, 7th grade, almost 8th grade. He said, man, because I was so precocious as a kid, and I knew things. I had information that I didn't know what to do with. I had a lot of information that I didn't know how to apply it.
Mhm.
Because I read a lot. My punishment as a kid, well, one of them was reading. So,
I love it.
and my mom was in school at the time for liberal arts. And they would make me read her textbook.
Mhm.
And then if I came across a word I didn't know, I had to look it up and then use it in a sentence. I'm like, man, this is some bullshit. Like, it's June. I'm not in school. School is over with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was for real summer school at my house.
Right.
And but it benefited me over time though, but yeah, he always told me, man, being smart is not showing somebody how smart you are.
Right.
It's chess.
I love
So
it.
I had to learn it though because I misapplied that over and over again in life.
Right.
And the judge told me, Brandon, you're a very articulate young man. You speak very well, yada yada yada, which means I think you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
We
You know what I'm
finna.
saying? Yeah. So
We gonna go ahead and get into that. So, Mr. Do you want me to call you Brad or Brandon?
it don't matter. It's all the same.
Okay,
It's
Brad
all the
Facts,
same.
y'all. Brad Facts.
What up, Tay?
He actually went to prison, y'all, for a total of 20 years.
I
Was
did
the total
17. I did
17 total?
They gave me 25,
Okay,
but I did 17 in total.
and that's
Yeah.
what we finna get
It's
into because you
unreal
were
just saying that right
facing
now. Yeah, I was
60.
facing 60.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that is one of the reasons why this king is here before us, y'all, because for a man to face a situation like that, to face obstacles like that, and for him to have gained everything that he gained from it just teaches us so much. All right, when we go through things in our own personal lives, everything we go through is for us to teach. It is our assignment to teach somebody else how to get through it as well.
Mhm.
And just listening and reading you know, his testimony, his story, his struggles, everything that he's overcome literally has empowered me and so many more of your other readers to just keep going, you know, and not to allow anything to take them out. And honestly, to, you know, to use it, you know, somebody throw bricks at you, stand on top of them. Amen. So King, what did you go to prison for? Can you go over kind of those charges?
I went to prison for armed robbery and attempted homicide.
Mhm.
Those are the initial charges.
How old were you when
I was
all this
15.
happened? 15
I was
years
15,
old. So
yeah,
you didn't know no better. You was
I
out
was
here
15.
without fear. I
Yeah,
believe
and without
you
a
had got
cause.
robbed
Yeah.
initially. So go kind of go over that before you go into the
Yeah,
charges.
so I remember this like it was yesterday too, because it's like it was the catalyst for a lot of the stuff that I wound up doing. I was on a bus stop on Fond du Lac and I think Capitol and Fond du Lac. Yeah.
Mhm.
And this dude walked up and he robbed everybody on the bus stop. Robbed everybody. Took my shoes, took everything. And I'm like, man. And I was thrown into a state of confusion because I'm like, man, what the hell just happened?
Right.
And I told my cousin about it, and he was like, man,
That just made me mad, y'all. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I was 14 at the time. I'm like, man, it's the 90s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They took my shoes, took my coat, you know what I'm saying? Like everything. And I'm like, what the?
Dude wanted your outfit. Ain't nobody.
Yeah, I know, right? So pretty much.
Right.
And I'm like, what? Like, okay. So I told my cousin about it, and we never found the guy that did it because he didn't even have a mask on, but you know, we never found him. And but what we wound up doing was we kind of went on a robbing spree, and that became a thing. And it wasn't my thing.
Right.
I was never a stick-up kid.
Right.
I was acting out of emotion.
Exactly.
You know, it was reactionary. It was like, man, I got to make somebody feel like I felt.
Right.
And
at 14 years old, you don't really know what to do with all of those emotions.
Growing up is hard enough.
Right.
You know, alone without all the other elements.
Right.
So, you know, doing that was like, man. And then, you know, the whole year of 96, this is what we did.
Right.
You know, it was anything that would be considered a part of the streets. We selling dope, we selling weed, and we robbing, and access to an absurd amount of guns. And
at such a baby age.
Yeah. You know, I think about that now when I see kids that's 14 to 15.
Yeah.
And
our minds aren't even fully developed at that age.
No,
you know.
No.
So they ended up charging you with as an adult. They ended up charging you as an adult. So I remember reading a book and you was in the courthouse, right? The person that you robbed didn't even press charges against you.
No, and then he came to see me.
Ain't nobody got time.
Yeah,
Lord.
he did.
Black
he did.
man, Jesus.
He
Won't he do it?
And it was like, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So it was
I'm listening. Okay.
For one, right? For one thing, it was chatters about me being waived while I was in the juvenile justice system.
Because you're so young.
Yeah.
Right.
So what they did was at the time, they introduced this thing called SJO. SJO was serious juvenile offender. And the serious juvenile offender was what they deemed to be violent, armed robbery, a gun charge, something like that. So 96, Clinton was the tough on crime president. Clinton got elected in 92. He got reelected in 96. He ran on tough on crime in 96. So SJO was introduced in October 96. The election was November 96. My crime happened in 97 in February. So I automatically qualified. So I was like, it was people that came behind me that were older than me with a longer rap sheet than me that had the exact same crime that got less time. So what they were typically doing was making examples out of all of the young black men that came through, black and Latino men that came through the system with an armed robbery or an attempted homicide or a homicide. And they gave them long sentences.
Right.
And the ironic thing about it, see, my mom worked at the courthouse at the
Mhm.
time. She was in the probate department, so she was hearing a lot of the stuff that was being spoken about with, behind the scenes,
Right.
the judges and the lawyers and the DAs, E. Michael McCann, all these different people who were down there. I think at the time, what was his name? The police chief, Arthur, somebody, I forgot his name, but he was the police chief, black guy.
Okay.
And so, they were all involved in these conversations.
Hmm.
And my mom would come home or come to see me and tell me about what was being said. And I was like, damn, I didn't know. I just knew I was being punished for what I had done because I understood when you do something wrong, there's a consequence.
Right.
But I had no idea how it would affect my life 20, nearly 30 years later.
So you're 16 years old.
I was 15.
15 at the
I
time.
was 15.
In this
yeah.
courtroom of all
Mhm.
these adults,
Mhm.
and they're basically deciding your future at
Yeah.
15 years
Yeah.
old. What was the decision?
They waived me. So at the time I had a lawyer named Robin Shello. Shout out to Robin Shello. She was probably one of the most helpful people at that time.
Yeah.
She heard about my case and she took it. And her whole thing was to prevent me from getting waived into the adult system because she knew what could potentially happen
Right.
10, 15, 20 years later
Right.
because she had seen this happen before.
Right.
Not a lot of people have been waived, but enough to where she understood that it was cause for concern.
Right.
So she took my case, and I just so happened I got waived, and they sent me from
And waived is charged as an adult.
tried as an adult,
Okay.
waived into the adult system.
Okay.
So they sent me from the Juvenile Justice Center to the county jail,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, the county jail. So I got down here. I got down there, and,
16, 15 years
in
old.
Pi 5C, and I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I didn't. I had no idea what was gonna happen,
Right.
and I just knew, like, damn, like everything that I had heard about, seen on TV, heard on the record, was real for me.
Right.
Like this don't happen to me. This happens to people I know.
Right.
But it just so happens I'm just like the people I know. I'm young, I'm black, I'm from Milwaukee, and the city that incarcerates black males at a higher rate than any other city or state in the country.
Right.
So it's big business here. So I'm in the county jail, and I'm just like, damn. I'm looking like everything was so large.
Yeah.
I'm 15, 130 pounds.
Not
You know what I'm saying?
understanding
Not really
everything that
understanding
was
what's
going on.
Yeah.
So as these, how did that impact your time spent in prison? Just being 15 years old, 16 years old, all these court officials speaking
Mhm.
all this, all this
Legal jargon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like-
Yes.
I said in the book,
Yes.
I used the analogy of they were speaking English, but they might as well have been speaking Mandarin
Right.
because I didn't understand nothing.
Right.
I didn't know what original certiorari was.
Right.
I didn't know what concurrent meant,
Right.
consecutive meant. I didn't know what detain meant until I got detained in DT. I didn't know what any of that meant. I was just like, everything was going over my head.
So again, that's another circumstance in your
Yeah.
life that you used as fuel.
Yeah.
So you were
because
in-
I was like, I gotta know what's happening. Like I would never sit in a
Mhm.
room right now to this day and not know what's going on, not know what's being said.
I can tell.
Like I would never do it, because I pretty much reverted while I was there to what my mom and my stepdad did for me when reading was my punishment. I
Right.
picked up every book I could think of. I picked up every single book because I wanted to know everything.
Right. And a lot of other 16-year-olds in that state, probably would have shut down.
Yeah. I
You know.
wasn't gonna shut down or shut up. I'm like, I'm not trying to hear none of that. Straight up, because I felt
You
like
got to it.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
and that's exactly why I'm so vocal about things now, because that's my frame of reference.
Yeah.
My frame of reference is, hey, your life is on the line. So when you speak, you have to say something that's gonna matter.
Whew, I felt that.
So I said, hey man,
felt
listen,
that.
if I got your attention,
Yes.
I'm gonna give you something to think about. And that's
Right.
just my job. You know what I'm saying? Because they gave me too much to think about.
Mm,
They took my freedom with
right.
permission, of course, because of my actions, but they took it. And they over-sentenced me at a time in my life where what they tried to do was cut off my potential at the knees. And it
Mhm.
wasn't gonna happen because I wasn't gonna allow it to happen.
You began to empower yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't do it because the people I looked up to, the people like the Malcolm X, the Nelson Mandelas, the Bobby Seals, the Huey P. Newton, the Ella Baker, all of these different people who I admired, who faced significantly more insurmountable struggle than just being in jail.
Right.
They went through the civil rights movement. They
Right.
went through the Jim Crow era. They went through apartheid. They went through all these different things.
Right.
Nelson Mandela said 18 years on Robben Island. If you don't know what Robben Island is, look it up.
Right.
And you can see a picture of how small this cell
saw
was.
it.
18 years in this one cell.
Yeah.
And didn't lose his sanity. As a matter of fact, what he did was he came home and became the president of the same country that incarcerated him.
Right.
So what am I going to complain about?
Right. Ooh, mine said, hold on now, Jesus. Mindset, courage under fire. Courage under fire.
I grew into that though. You know,
Yes.
it was
But even then, you were growing because at
yeah,
that
yeah,
point in
yeah.
time, you could have continued to be a hothead, and maybe you
Yeah.
was just a little
to
bit.
some degree because I
but
was
you
growing up. I was 16,
still
17, 18. Yeah, yeah,
chose
Yeah.
to learn more, to
Yeah.
empower yourself, to educate yourself. Was there any really quick? Was there anyone in prison at that time between the age? I believe you were there until you were 20. At that time, that also poured into you,
Ed Hennings.
Ed Hennings. Okay.
Yeah.
I
I
read
met-
about
I met-
him in the book as well.
I met Ed. Yeah, he wrote my foreword.
Oh wow. Okay.
I met Ed when I was 15 in the county jail.
Okay.
He was down there for a homicide. And
And I think he was 25.
he was 24.
24.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was 29 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, him, my cousin Dave passed away. I was fortunate enough to be around people who treated me like a kid
Right.
in the county jail.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the older people, the 25, the 30, the 40-year-olds treated me like a kid.
Okay.
Even though I was within earshot of all of the conversations that was being had, the inappropriate conversations. I was down there with Snooki, Pimp Snooki. I was down there with him. But even talking to Snooki, it wasn't what you see in the media.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was, man, don't be like me, don't do this and don't do that.
Right.
That was the thing, the defining element of how things were then versus now. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It was, man, don't do what I'm doing, do as I say.
Right.
And what they said made a lot more sense in most cases
Right.
than what they were doing.
Right.
Even though we were all in the same situation, it was just like, man, you can't go in the gym until you finish your schoolwork. I'm like, man, I'm in jail. What do you mean I can't go?
I love
I'm in
it.
jail. You know what I'm saying?
I honor those kids. I
So,
love it.
They was trying to treat me like a kid, but
Yes.
I mean, and I was.
Right.
So
Good man.
yeah, but it was
Good
a few
man.
people that I can think of that I remember that the media vilified because they went to prison for a long time after the fact. The
Mhm.
media vilified them, but they were always good to me. So I can't really agree with what's being said about them.
Yeah,
or
it's a
what's
whole.
been
We got a
said.
lot
So,
of
yeah.
great
I met
black
some good
men
people
out
Yeah.
here, and that's why it's so important for our black men to be great examples, to
Definitely.
one another,
Yeah, for sure.
and to these babies that are out here because they need y'all.
Mhm.
So I'm glad it was great black men that
Yeah.
poured into your life, and
Yeah.
now you're doing the same thing for our
Yeah,
youth. I love it. I love it. I
Gotta
love
pay
it.
for it.
So, you were released. You got in at 15.
Yeah.
You were released at 20 years old.
I actually got out. I'm gonna tell you something, right?
I'm listening.
So I bumped my head a lot. So I got out at 18. I did
18,
4. right?
okay.
I did 4 years, three years and 4 months.
Okay.
And I got out in the summer of 2000.
Okay.
And I went back in 2001 for using a stolen cell phone.
Oh, I
Right.
read that
Yeah.
in the book. Ain't nobody got time.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
that?
And they gave me
It
6
wasn't even
months.
yours.
What-
You
what
just
my phone?
used
Yeah.
it.
They gave me 6 months for the phone
Right.
and 7 months and 16 days revocation.
Right. That's
And
the
I got 13
system.
months. I did 13 more months.
Right. System don't make
So
no
when
sense.
I got out, I was 20.
Okay. So what was your mindset, spending that amount of time
Yeah.
behind bars? What was your
Yeah.
mindset at that time?
At the time, I
20?
did like damn near 5 years. I was 20 years old.
Would you say your mindset was where
was
it is right
horrible.
now? Okay. So
Hell no.
where was
No.
you at, kid?
My mindset wasn't what it is now.
What
20
was you
years
at
ago.
20 years
But
20 years old?
It was.
I was out here like I'm just gonna get it.
Yeah. It was
Mad
it
at the
was-
world.
Yeah. I was upset with the system because I didn't understand how they could do people like that.
Yeah,
I was upset.
as you should have
with,
been.
I was upset with my dad for bringing the police to me.
Gotta read the book, y'all. Gotta read the book.
That's something that still bothers me.
I understand. Yeah,
Like no lie.
I know.
Like,
I
for
feel
real.
it. I know. What happened in the summer? Go ahead.
No, it's just. Yeah, I was in a bad headspace at 20.
But I thank God for your mom, and I thank God for
Yeah.
your stepdad.
Yeah.
Oh, I thank God
Good
for
people.
him.
Real
Yeah.
good people.
Yeah.
Yeah, real good people.
Yeah. What happened in the summer of 2002?
Oh yeah. So look, what happened
He
was
said he was a hothead, y'all.
Yeah,
He said he was
yeah,
a
yeah,
hothead.
yeah.
What happened in 20?
I was a hothead, and I think I might be a Gemini. Like when you think
got
about
Gemini
it, yeah,
qualities.
because I'm telling you, I at the time, I could go from being okay,
Mhm.
peaceful, pleasant, and then the switch would just be flipped, and that'd be it. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been a principled person for a long, long time, and I stood on
Since
those.
you were 9.
Yeah.
When you
and-
didn't tell on your brother, and when
Yeah,
you made sure your mom
yeah,
was
yeah.
okay. That's embedded in you.
Yeah, and I cut my bracelet off.
Okay. Ain't
2002.
nobody got time.
Yeah, I cut my bracelet off. I'm gonna tell you why though. I did it because I think Summerfest was about to start or something.
Okay.
And everybody was talking about going to Summerfest.
You just want to enjoy your life.
I did. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta get it. I'm going down there. I'm going, and like I'm tired of being in the house at 7:00 and everybody's riding by,
Yeah.
cars. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
So I cut my bracelet off and I threw it on top of WNOV. And I never forget this. I threw it on top of WNOV. I rode by, I threw it on top of the radio station. And
He was a rebel, y'all. He was a rebel.
Yeah. And I'm back in the hood. I'm smoking weed again. I got my gun with me. I'm out here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right.
And
Thinking about everything that you done been through in life since
all of that.
that age.
You know, I was-
you didn't care.
Yeah, I was resentful. I was frustrated. I was going through all of these different things.
Right. And it's not
And-
too many opportunities out here for our,
Right,
our
yeah,
young black men. So
yeah.
you was trying to get to it. You was
Yeah.
hustling, just like
Yeah.
everybody in my family was. So
And I was
understand.
trapped pretty much between Walnut
Exactly.
and North Avenue,
Exactly.
27th Street and 20th.
Exactly.
And I was just, you know what I'm saying? So, but I left, it was a spot called the Cottage Club on the east side. My homeboy uncle, Steve West. Shout out to Steve, the whole West family. I just seen him today at Garfield Day.
Shout out. We on
And,
our way down there in a
Definitely.
second.
And I left from down there and I pulled up in the hood and I seen a friend of mine and I went down the street to talk to him. And he came off the porch and the police hit the corner and almost hit both of us. We was about to walk on the street. I'm like, man, what's going on? I know I'm on the run though. He just got out the day before, so he good.
Oh wow.
And they did what they called field interviews. They would snatch you up, run your name. If you had warrants, they'd take you in. If you didn't, they'd let you go.
Wait, is this on the bus?
No,
This was a different incident.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
okay,
was the
okay.
initial
We're gonna get to the
altercation
bus
with
in a
the
second,
police.
y'all.
Yeah, it was the initial one, yeah. And they snatched me up, put me in the car. I said, damn. They ran my name. Well, no, they ran my homie name first.
Mhm.
Let him go. I said, damn. So at the time, my younger cousins, they seen me in the police car and start throwing stuff at the car, like, let him out. I'm like, y'all gonna get me hung.
Oh
What
my
are y'all doing?
goodness.
They throwing sticks and rocks. I'm gonna let him out. So what the police did was they backed up and kind of sat in the middle of the intersection talking driver door to driver door to a unmarked detective car.
Okay.
And somebody said, I think one of them said, "What's up with the guy in the back?" referring to me. And he said, oh yeah, he's got a warrant from Mr. P.O. I said, damn.
Ran
got
your
me.
name.
They got me. I said, damn, they got me. So when they closed the door wasn't all the way shut. You could kind of rattle it a little bit. So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So they never handcuff at the time doing these field interviews. They didn't handcuff. They would just put you in the back of the car. I said, damn, okay. I'm not going to jail, man. So, I leaned back in the seat. I leaned back and I kicked the door with both my feet twice. Bam, bam, and it just flew open. I jumped out the car.
Ran.
I didn't even get a chance to run. Check it out. I didn't get a chance to run. They grabbed me immediately.
Oh.
But, I can hold my own. So
Right.
I got loose. I had to fight with them. I got loose. Then I ran.
Fighter.
So before I knew it, the whole neighborhood was surrounded. I'm talking about surrounded. Like they had been waiting for something to happen. It's like, how did y'all get here so quick?
Right.
Like, what happened? Was y'all up the street just looking?
Right.
So
Just little old me.
yeah,
Right.
so I run around the block. I went up Lloyd. They come down that way. I make a right. They push me to Garfield. I come back and now I run to my grandma's house. And they see me running the back door. I go in the house. I tell my cousin, man, give me my gun, man. He was like, what?
Right.
I said, well, I ain't going back to jail, man. I'm not with it. I'm not going back. You know what I'm saying? And he kind of seen it in my eyes. I was serious. And my auntie was like, no, Brand, you
Don't give
can't.
it to him.
I said,
Right.
no, hell no. Give me my gun, man. So he didn't. Thankfully he didn't. Yeah, thankfully he didn't.
Yes, Lord. That's good people.
Yeah. I went upstairs and I tried to hide. And I remember just hearing walkie-talkies and keys, and you could hear the leather just moving.
Right.
They was coming to get me. It was about 5 or 6 of them. And they came in there and I fought, to no avail. And I wound up going into custody. And the whole neighborhood just thought that it was over with for me. But I knew in my mind how far to go.
Right.
I knew how far to go,
You're still young.
Yeah, I'm 20. I was 20. So
yeah.
I knew how far to go before to be completely over with.
Right.
And they locked me up for a year. They charged me with battery to a police officer, which got reduced to resisting or obstructing a misdemeanor because the judge was like, and the DA was like, you mean to tell me that this
young man on fought
battered 6 officers and won? You know what I'm saying? So
it did.
Yeah, it was
He's
like,
been training since he was 9. Okay.
I'm in court like,
he was training since he was 9 years old, his brother.
Yeah, I got a year out of that. And
Yeah.
I got out 2003.
Yeah.
And
all right. Now what happened on the bus?
Yeah, so
You
that was
out for a
2004.
little bit.
That was 04. Yeah.
Okay. So you was out for a little bit. Your mind at
Out for a
that
little bit,
time
yeah. I was
wasn't
working.
completely
No,
all the way
I
where it
still
needed to
wasn't.
be.
I still wasn't ready to say
No to the street
I'm
life.
done.
Right. Right.
I was telling people that,
yeah.
but I knew I wasn't done.
Right.
But
But you was headed in that direction,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it was still in you. It went all the way.
Yeah.
Gone. Okay.
And I had this 20-year stay sentence over my head, probation
Mhm.
sentence over my head,
Right.
and I'm living like
With no fears.
I'm living with
nothing
like
to lose.
nothing.
Right.
Like, yeah, and it was just like, man, they got to show me.
right.
I'm a show and tell kind of guy. You have to show me what you mean if you serious.
Right.
And they showed me, but
What happened on the bus?
we were we was hitting licks with the moving company. Hitting licks meaning we was taking stuff from people at the moving company I was working at.
Okay.
And they wound up finding out that I got a diamond ring that was kind of appraised at like $15,000-$16,000.
Mm-hmm.
And
It was like, where you get this ring from?
yeah.
Mhm.
And the police came knocking, like, what's going on? We got word, we want to talk to you about something that came up missing here. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And of course I feigned ignorant and innocent. And
As you should.
yeah,
Don't tell on
and
yourself.
I never
Lord.
forget this officer. His name was Terrence Bender, black guy. He treated me real recklessly, disrespectfully, and it's dangerous for for us to be in those positions
Right.
sometimes because we entrust our safety
To
to the
them.
peace officers,
Right.
and they don't always uphold the oath that they take.
Right.
And so he,
A lot of them people shouldn't be in those positions at
he drew
all.
his gun on me.
Mm,
Drew his gun on me. And I'm like, man, you got to use that.
right.
Like I don't got no weapons.
Right.
So he drew his gun on me, and
You called his bluff.
like, man, you got to
Mhm.
use that. And I
Right.
walked
And
away.
he didn't know who he was talking to.
He hosted it. Like, damn.
He
it
didn't
up.
know who he was talking to.
He put it up and read like, I need you back up, this, that, and the third.
Yeah, because you're young, so he's
Yeah.
thinking that's gonna
Yeah,
scare
yeah.
you
No, I'm
into
like, come on, man, no.
obedience.
So-
But they didn't know who they were talking to.
No, at all.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
left. I left my car in the driveway because he was at the house, so he knew if I'd have gotten in the car, I'm conscious of a high speed chase. That's another felony.
Right.
So I'm not gonna do that. So I left. I walked down Hampton. I was on 92nd at Hampton. I walked down Hampton. I jumped on the bus because I kept seeing a bunch of squad cars coming, and I was gone. Somebody told that I had gotten on the bus. Yeah, somebody told I got on the bus, and they pulled the bus over around like 80 something at Hampton, and they got on the bus. Not the detective. It was a bunch of uniformed officers.
Mhm.
Got on the bus with their guns drawn. I'm like, what the hell is this? There was 6 officers with their guns drawn. I got my phone in my hand. So I put my phone in my pocket because I said, well, you know what? They like to say he got a gun if I got anything in my hand.
You were
So I put it in
really
my pocket.
smart.
Yeah, I was like,
At
yeah, I
that
ain't gonna
age,
do that.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I put my phone in my pocket and I put my hands up, and dude said, get on your knees. And I'm like, nah, I can't. I'm not going. You ain't gonna put me on my knees. If you're gonna take me like this. You're not gonna put me on my knees, is how I was thinking. And so dude hosted this. His Kurt Lucina.
You know all these names. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kurt Lucina. He got on the stand and lied on me.
Mm,
But he put his gun in his holster and he punched me in my chest. And when he swung again, I blocked it and I pushed him off me.
mhm.
And the other officers had their guns drawn
Right.
and they watched this unfold.
Right.
And they holstered their weapons after about a minute or so.
No police cameras at that time.
No, nobody cams at the
No
time.
body cams. Okay.
Nobody cams and no tape from the footage. I mean, from the camera on the bus. I found this out when I hired a private investigator to go get everything, and
Right.
nothing was there in my favor. And I fought them, and I went to jail, and I got to court, and they charged me with theft, possession of marijuana, battery to a police officer, and attempted to disarm a police officer.
Wow.
I said,
And that's
what?
what he lied on you about.
Yeah, I said,
Okay.
what? So he said his story was when he drew his gun that I tried to take it from him. While the other 5 officers,
Guns
Yeah.
drawn.
I'm like,
That
man,
makes
y'all
no
kill people
sense.
for less than this,
Right.
without even trying to reach for a weapon. So
Right.
they dismissed that.
Trying to justify why he
Yeah,
punched you,
yeah.
probably.
The DA
Right.
didn't believe it,
Right.
and they dismissed that charge.
Good.
They dismissed most of the charges because it was all, they were all trumped up.
Right.
And I got charged with theft and resisting obstructing, but I got 20 years behind it though because I had the 20-year state sentence. And it was then I had one of them fuck this shit moments. It was one of them moments. It was like, man, fuck this, man. I
Yeah.
can't keep doing this. It was
Right.
like over and over again. And I'm like, I know I'm better than this. Like I'm better than this. And I went to court, got my sentence, and it was then when I said,
And that was 20 years.
yeah, I had 20. And I said, something got to change.
Mm.
How am I doing time now from 7 years ago?
Right.
Because by the time I got up north to do my time, the time I got for the actual misdemeanor case was done.
Right.
So I'm like, what the hell? And I knew it was over. I said, I'm done, man. I can't do this no more. I was 23. I said, I said, this can't be my legacy. This won't be it. It's not at all.
So you went back, you said 23
I was
years
22
old.
when I went, but I was 23 by the time I got to up north.
And so when they sentenced you to 20 years,
Mhm.
that was also because of what happened
The
when you
armed
were
robbery,
15.
97. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In your book, you stated, and I love this, y'all. You said, we experience severe hardships and bump our heads until we get it.
Mhm.
Describe the moment that you got it and began to change your course of action.
I got it. Like I got it. There was a book I read called Kaffir Boy, Kaffir, by a guy named Mark Mathabane.
Mm-hmm.
He's from South Africa. He was a tennis player.
Yeah.
And if you ever get a chance, you got to read this book. All he wanted to do was come to America and play tennis. He was a huge fan of Arthur Ashe. And all he did was wanted to play tennis. And I read this book when I first got to Dallas Correctional Institution. And
this was serving the 20 years.
This was in November of 2004.
This was the first book you read.
Yeah, the
after
first
being
book
sentenced?
I read after I got the time.
Okay.
Because my mind wouldn't let me sit still right after I got it. I was like, man, I can't. Reading for what? I'm gonna read.
Yes.
So
right.
But I kept thinking, and I read somewhere years and years ago that reading is a place you can go where you can't leave where you at.
Yes.
And
yes.
I said, I'm gonna read this.
It's an escape. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I read it, and it inspired the shit out of me. I said, damn.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was the apartheid era. So South Africa had these raids going on. If you didn't have this identification card when the British government came to your home, they taking your kids and everybody
right
to jail just because.
Right.
And I said, if he dealt with that, I can deal with this.
Listen.
And I said, wait a minute, man. So I just kept reading. And it was around, I was searching for something that I didn't find outside of myself. And it was around 2010 when I looked in the mirror and I said, oh man, it's you. Like everything that you want, everything that you've been looking for has been right there all along.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a song called Courage Under Fire. And it's on SoundCloud if y'all ever want to hear it. It's on my first project called Facts of Life. But January 12th was when the earthquake happened in Haiti. And I wrote this song that same week. And Teddy Pendergrass died January 13th. Like all of this happened around the same time. And I read this book called
Pivotal Moments.
How to Hustle and Win by a guy named Supreme Understanding. And I was like, oh man, everything begins and ends with you.
Right. Go a little further into that. What you mean?
So if you're looking for some inspiration, there's a quote that I like that says the greatest beauty lies in uncharted corners of your own existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of us, we rely on the habits that we have. Right. Which is the idea, the false notion of us using 10% of our brain.
Right.
That's bullshit.
Right.
Because if you understand the process of atrophy, then you will know that if you don't use something, then it dies out. Okay. So if you didn't use the other 90% of your brain, then it wouldn't work. The 10% speaks to habit. The region of our brain that reinforces the habit, the getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, putting your shoes on, how you drive, how you walk, how you dress, how you speak. All of those things are supported by that 10%.
Right.
According to scientists.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hey, listen, man, I have the power.
Yes.
And I gave it away. I gave it away anytime I said he told on me. I gave it away anytime I said she did this to me. I gave it away anytime I said they wronged me. They crossed me. I gave him something to tell. I gave her an opportunity to hurt me. I, by way of trust, gave them an opportunity to wrong me or cross. So it's all on me.
Right.
If I have a car accident, I left home.
Right.
I didn't check both my mirrors.
Right.
I didn't slow down when I know how people are driving. I like it. It was the ownership and the accountability that I took that led me to understand that everything begins and ends with you. You have the power, and you disempower yourself when you give it away.
And it's only then when you have that understanding that you're
Yeah.
able to walk in that power.
Absolutely.
Right.
You can either walk in it or you can run from it. See, the
Mm.
problem with success is people want it but don't want the responsibility it comes with. Because it comes with responsibility, because it's like, okay, if Shell did something good today,
Jesus, let me do something good today, Lord. Go ahead.
can she do it again?
Oh, okay.
Can you repeat that process? Can you continue?
Yes.
Everybody got flashes of genius
Yeah.
or
Practice
flashes of
makes
greatness.
perfect. Practice makes
Yeah.
perfect.
Like everybody has at least one bestseller, one great song, one of something.
Right.
Can you rise to the occasion over and over again?
Right. When
That's
you
where the
have-
greatness comes from.
Ooh, that's power and what separates.
Yeah. Can
I
you
love
commit to
that.
this?
Yes.
It's the consistency that lies in the discipline
Right.
that people look at and say, oh my God, he's a genius.
And it's the discipline that equips you to embody whatever
Yeah,
whatever that is.
all of those things.
Right. I
Yeah.
love
So,
that.
it's not that
Practice makes perfect, y'all.
he's a little more special than me, or
Is that I put the
she's-
work
it's
in.
I put the work in.
Right. And a lot of people see the imagery or
Yeah, they
the
see the
outer
result.
shell, exactly the
They
result,
see the result.
but they don't understand everything,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, that it took for them to become that complete picture.
I had
Right.
some sleepless nights. I had a lot of
Right.
painful, resentful, sleepless nights,
Right.
tear-filled, pillow-soaked, sorrowful nights that
Right.
nobody would ever
As
see.
any human
That's
being
dead.
would in that
Nobody's
situation.
seen this.
Right.
Nobody's seen it. Nobody's like. So when you get a visit in prison, people come to see the person they remember.
Right.
They come to see the person who made them laugh or
Right.
who gave them some sense of comfort. You serve as an escape to some people when they go to see you.
Right.
And I know because I go see people in prison and I'm escaping the bullshit out here about going to see them, because there's a purity
Right.
in people there, because
Yes.
there's no blinders, the jewelry, the
Yes.
cars, the money. Like there's none of that bullshit
Right.
that can mask who you really are.
I love it.
I done had some of the
It's true.
richest people on the street, by the street standards, who couldn't read,
Right.
who looked up to me
Yeah.
in the joint because I had a room full of books. Hey, Brad, help me. I got you.
Right.
I'm gonna write this letter for you.
And they would have never been able to survive those circumstances. You know what I'm saying?
So
You're
it's just-
you are a spiritual warrior in my eyes. You know, you
I
rose
appreciate
above
that. Yeah.
a lot of circumstances and obstacles that could have took you out, right?
Yeah.
But didn't. They made you
I
stronger.
always say that people always say, "Oh man, you so humble."
You are very humble.
Nah.
You probably wasn't always.
No, I'm not humble. I'm
Oh.
appreciative.
Okay.
There's a difference between being appreciative and being humble.
Okay.
Humble
That was powerful.
by definition means to downplay one's own importance.
Mm.
So I've never been humble,
Lord Jesus.
honestly.
No
lie,
appreciative.
No lie. But I'm greatly appreciative for every
Absolutely.
single
I love
thing.
that. Yeah.
For the people I was around going through what I was going through.
Gratitude.
But I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
It's difficult to be humble or to be appreciative sometimes when you survive situations that you
Right.
watched destroy other people.
Right.
Like, there's an arrogance that come with that.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever seen somebody or know somebody who kicked a drug addiction, like there's an element of arrogance within them, because if they watch this rock or this needle destroy their peers, a lot of times either they're super religious or it's like, man, nothing can touch me.
Right. And honestly, it's just them, to me, it's just them knowing what they're capable of and holding
definitely.
themselves
They
to a
steep
high
in their own
regard.
capabilities.
And when they hold themselves to a high regard, they hold you
Yeah.
to a high regard.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm cool with
But I'm
that. As
definitely
long as you're not
appreciative of
putting
that.
nobody else down.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
no.
So I think,
No.
there's strength in that.
Yeah.
You know, we shouldn't walk around with our heads down, because that's honestly what the system wanted you to do.
Yeah.
But like I
Yeah.
said, you rose above it. In your book, you talked about Man, it's so powerful, y'all. It's so powerful. In your book, you talked about the mirror theory,
Mhm.
four truths of transition, and purpose of the follow through plan.
Yeah,
Can you tell us just a little bit? You don't wrote it down,
I
Lord.
did. I did. I told you I forgot about some of
I'm
that stuff
telling you.
because I was. So I wrote a lot of notes
Yes.
locked up. When I was locked up,
Yes.
and I referred to those notes, as I was writing the book.
What was the mirror theory? Let's start there.
The mirror theory is pretty much the foundation of it is your reflection should cause reflection.
Yeah.
So when you look at yourself, you should be able to reflect on past, present, and future.
Yeah.
And if it's an honest look,
Yes.
then you're going to have some pain. You're going to
Yes,
feel some
Lord.
stuff.
Oh, I was reading this
you're gonna
book
feel
like,
some
oh
stuff.
my Lord.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're gonna be like, oh, man,
but
I
it makes
probably
you
should.
so much, it makes you so much better. You know what I'm saying? We
So
have to be the
that's what
editors of
mirror
our
theory is rooted in.
own.
It's
Yeah.
rooted in that.
I love it.
It's
I
just
love it.
seeing you as you, not what people see, not what you want people to see. I ask myself the questions that other people ask me, or the questions I asked other people, and I gave myself out loud. I didn't have to be out loud. I gave myself the honest answers. That was painful. Like, man, like, what if I don't want another life?
Right.
Like it was that type of thing.
Right.
And it jarred me into a reality of wanting more. And then not only wanting more, but putting the work in to get what I want.
Right.
So
gotta be a doer.
Yeah. The mirror theory is just, hey man, look at you for who you really are.
Right.
Not what you want to be tomorrow, not what you were yesterday, but who you are and what you are right now.
Right. And it's only then when you can see all of the tools or the ingredients that's needed for you to become who you want to be.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Facing that reality. Yeah. What about the 4 truths of transition?
The 4 truths, that's what I wrote down. Ask yourself, why do you want to change? That's number 1. I asked myself, like, man, do I really want to do something different?
Right.
Like I gotta let go of that.
Right.
Do I really want to let that go?
What I'm used to.
Yeah. That's all it is. It's the comfort you want to let go.
Right.
That you don't want to let go, should I say.
Yeah.
Do I want to change? Ask yourself, why do you want to change? Not only do you, but why?
Right.
And your weaknesses deserve more attention than your strengths.
Right.
And let go of who you are to become who you're gonna be.
Love it.
Yeah. And so it's I think
teach them.
Yeah, to kind of highlight number 3. People don't.
I forgot we was on camera, Jesus. Hey y'all.
Yeah,
Go
I know,
ahead.
right? Yeah, people don't like to talk about their weaknesses.
Yeah.
I know, because I was one of those people. If you held
Yeah.
a mirror up in front of me, I'd probably break it and say, move, stop playing with me.
Right.
Because I didn't want to see what was really happening.
Right.
If you look at a drug addict who hasn't looked in the mirror for a long, long time, and you give them a mirror, they start to see what other people see. It's like, oh my God, get it away from me. I don't want to see it.
Right.
So I just learned to focus on my weaknesses, and I learned I had a theory, not a theory, but a social experiment that I did with myself, where for about a year, I made sure that I was telling people, "You right, I'm wrong. You right, I'm wrong."
Okay.
Me and Ed had the same debate for a long time.
Okay.
And then I realized he was right. And I got him out. I think I went and woke him up. I don't even know. But at that moment, I had to say, man, you right.
Right.
And I'm wrong. And like that alone is so powerful, because it's empowering for one to be able to say, you know what? I was wrong about that. It's mainly the wrong part. Because people can say you're right. And by
takes
default,
strength to be able to,
by default, it means I was wrong.
Right.
But to say I was wrong,
right.
It take courage.
Yeah.
It do. It take courage. Yeah. So
yeah, I love it. Purpose of the follow through plan. Your mom always said, don't start nothing you can't finish. That was in the book, y'all.
Yeah.
So what's the purpose of the follow through plan? What's that all about?
So I know a lot of people who start things that with the most enthusiasm, with the most excitement, with the most, with a full head of steam, and we going today, we gonna go. Then it die out.
Yeah.
So if you can retain that same enthusiasm and same grit and drive throughout,
Yeah.
then you can only win.
Yeah.
Because there's only one way to fail, and that's to quit. So following through is the thing that leads to whatever success or whatever goal that you are trying to attain or accomplish. And I think following through is so important. It's an important thing because it takes 21 days to form a habit. And after
That's
that, you know, before you know it,
powerful that you just said
yeah, you know,
that.
before you know it, it's done by second nature. know,
When
it's
you
become
said that,
part
the
of who you
first thing
are.
I thought about was the Daniel fast,
Yeah.
21 days. So
Mhm.
powerful,
Yeah.
powerful, Lord.
Those 3 weeks are important.
Yeah.
They're really important. And people always ask me how I wrote this book. I didn't write a book. I wrote chapters.
Okay.
And in those chapters, I wrote pages.
Okay.
So it wasn't, I'm writing this whole book. It wasn't none of that.
Right.
Because that's a daunting task.
You done did it on accident.
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
daunting task. It's like, oh my God, I gotta write a whole book.
Right.
What? I gotta read this? No.
Right.
Break it down.
Right.
Break it down.
This was
It's
a
like
gift.
a math problem.
Right.
So,
Ooh.
yeah.
It takes the anxiety and pressure off of it too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. This was his book truly, once again, y'all, I forgot we was on the podcast. Jesus. Courage Under Fire. Man, just change your entire perception in life. It's truly a gift to the world.
I definitely appreciate it.
It's truly a gift to the world. You know, God has placed so many different gifts in us, but it's up to us, right, to walk in that power, to discover them gifts and to reveal them, right? And a lot of your gifts were revealed in this book, as well as a whole bunch of other things that you do. You talked about you recommending people to write down their strengths versus their weakness. And you also said that we should focus more on our weaknesses. But why do you recommend that to us?
Well, writing things down has always been a good thing for me personally. You know, when you write things down, you make them real.
Right.
You know, you make them real because everybody has ideas.
Right.
And that's the second step of an idea. The first step is having it.
Right.
Writing it down is like, okay, yeah, now I can see it. Then it makes you want to kind of do something with it when you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote down 2013, I think, 2012, somewhere around there. I wrote down 10 strengths and 10 weaknesses. And I said, it was so easy to write my strengths down. It was like, I'm done.
I recommend y'all do this.
It was so easy. I mean, it was so easy. It didn't even seem real.
Right. Because you were
because
standing
we
tall.
know,
right.
Those
you know
are
what
the
you're
things you
good
want
at.
people to know about you.
Right.
Man, check this out. I'm good at this. I can do that. Bam, bam, bam.
Right.
That's it.
Yes.
The weaknesses were like, you mean I gotta look at myself?
Yeah.
You know, I gotta look at myself. Honestly, if I'm being honest, you know when you're lying.
Right.
Because there's a feeling you get. It's like,
right.
Okay.
I could work on that.
So again, that was at the same time I was just, you know, telling people, you right, I'm wrong.
Right.
And I said, I'm gonna write these down. I'm a Libra, so everything for me has to have some element of balance. So it's like I gotta have, if I got 10 over here, I gotta have 10 over here.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it's probably 40 over here. But I'm gonna just focus on the 10 because that's what's gonna, you know, help me get to the other 20 or the other 20 beyond that,
right.
or the 10 beyond that. And I made sure that the 10 weaknesses weren't a different variation of each other.
Right.
They were literally 10 independent weaknesses that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And they change over time. They should, because you grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely recommend people do that if you want to get better at whatever it is that you were doing in life.
Amen.
Even if it's just living.
Yes.
Accountability.
Right.
Accountable.
I asked somebody that after I did it. I'm like, man, let's play a game.
Yeah.
This was when I was locked up.
Okay.
He said, well, what's the game? I said, man, let's write down 10 strengths and 10 weaknesses.
This is the type of game you want to play,
Yeah.
Lord. This is the type of game. See how y'all playing.
Dog said, I ain't got no weaknesses. I said, I don't want to talk to you no more. If you ain't got no weaknesses, then why we talking?
Right.
It's time to die.
Right.
Because if you ain't got no weaknesses,
You ain't
can't
got
learn
nothing to work
else.
on. Right.
Nothing to work on.
Right.
If ever you come to a point and you say, you know what? I'm done learning. I don't need to learn nothing else.
Right. Then it's time to transition.
It's time to go.
Right. Right. Because there's
It's time to go.
God has us here for a purpose. You should be walking in your purpose,
Yeah.
you know, and a
Yeah,
part of
it's time
that
to go, yeah.
is continuing elevating. Every day you should be learning something. Every single day you should be making yourself better along with the people around you. Before we get into the people around you, Brad Fax, I just want to again, you know, talk about how much I do admire you. And I think it's because
Appreciate
of my own personal, you know, stories and all of that good stuff. So, and you know, my mom was a hustler in Chi-Town.
Yeah.
You know, we moved from Chi-Town, and
Everybody I know from Chicago.
yeah,
Everybody I know from Chicago. I'm the only one that from Chicago.
But you know, we moved up here and moved into a shelter because she was running from some people from Chicago, and she ended up having an addiction and battling with her addiction and overcame it. Then there's also my uncle who hustled and hustled and hustled until he was about, I believe, 42 years old. He was last year. Never went to prison for a long-term basis. It ended up being shot amongst 4 other people, a total of 5 people, at the age of 42 years old last year, right? And honestly, y'all kind of resemble each other. Right. And I know that if something, you know, like that happened in his life, he would still be here with us, you know. Yeah. So I just thank you for being an example of a man who can go through that and get out of it and are showing and telling other people, you know, there's a better way. Thank you for walking in your purpose. So he also talked about in the book, he teaching in the book, y'all. He's a father, okay, a brother, a friend, really teaching in the book. But he talks about the type of people that you should surround yourself with, because everything is about growth. Everything is about elevation, right? So what do you recommend?
Simpatico effect.
Okay, there we
That's
go.
What they call it, simpatico. That was something I came with. So simpatico is pretty much just like a like-minded person, pretty much. But you should, you know, I think you should, you know, surround yourself with people who won't let you give up. Yeah. You know, who won't let you. And in the book, my example of that was Misty May and Kerry Walsh. Probably the most dominant volleyball duo in the history of the sport. Okay. Like they went on I think they won 112 games straight. And if you watch them, if you ever had a chance to watch them play, 2008 Olympics, 2012 Olympics, it was like, man, they never ever let one another give up. And those are the kind of people that you need in your life. Man, you can't just come on, get up, let's go, man. Yeah. No, we ain't gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Hang with people who challenge you and not compete with you. Powerful. And you know, because we all have those people who give us left-handed compliments. I wish I was like you. I wish I could get like you. Come on, now, be for real, man.
Be like you. Become the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Yes. And hang with people who are pursuing something positively life-changing. Because I'm telling you, man, when you know the older you get, man, and the more you become, the more evolved you become, and the better you become, you start to realize that it's really about the fundamental principles that a lot of us had instilled in us growing up. Yeah. And it ain't about the cars and the money. I love it. You know, I like the cars and the money. Walking in your purpose.
It comes with it.
But when they took it all from me, see, the thing of it is this. When you link your identity to things that can be taken from you, right? When they take it from you, your identity is gone. Right. And then you have to find out who you really are. And it's like, oh my God. So now you spend so much time, if you don't put the work in on finding who you really are, and finding your own identity, you spend the time trying to reobtain what they took from you. So because you think that's who you are.
Right.
And that's what happens. And it happened to me in the 90s, being around people who didn't mean me no good.
Right.
You know, I'm a gang member now. I'm doing this and I'm doing that.
Right.
So once I got away from it, I was like, hold on, man. I'm not, hell no. Them somebody else's principles.
Exactly.
Them somebody else's morals.
Exactly.
That's somebody else's shit. That ain't mine.
Right.
So once I even tore down my old belief system, the stuff that my mom instilled in me. You know, I held on to some of it that made sense as it pertains to my life now, but the stuff that doesn't or didn't make sense, I let it go.
Right.
But it was hard to do because I had to undo. It's hard to undo what you don't realize has been done to you. And it's like, how do I, you just know you feel a certain way.
Right.
Or you walk a certain way, or you talk a certain way. And what solitude afforded me the luxury of doing was realize that who I really am as a person. So when you see me doing certain things, that's really me.
Right.
Like it's that, like there's no pretending in the motivation. There's no pretending in the music. There's no pretending in me being an author. Like there's no pretending in none of that.
Right.
Even when you see me laugh and when you joking, if you see me angry, those are all aspects of my character and who I am as a person.
Right.
That I tapped into over time, and I was able to genuinely be me. Like it was just my biggest struggle coming home from prison was being the person out here that I had become in there. Because I had evolved and grew and changed so much that these niggas wouldn't recognize me no more. And I got it. See, a lot of people change.
Say that again.
Change you to who you used to be.
Yeah.
Part of that reason is because they only identify with who you used to be.
Right.
Because they
You're only
haven't grown
comfortable
much.
with that version of
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
And that's fine. That's cool. That's fine.
Right.
I can still could come and talk to you because I can tap into some old shit every now and again.
Right.
But the reality of it is that's not really where I am.
Right.
And that's not where I want to be.
Right.
And that's fine that you find it okay to be at home and smoke weed all day. Not to judge nobody, but
right.
What's productive in these things?
Right. Like-minded. We're just not on the same wavelength, and that's
fine.
okay. That's
okay,
all right.
yeah.
Because at any point in time, you can come over here. Just don't expect me to go over there.
See, I mastered the art
I
of
get that.
disagreeing without strife and without tension.
Absolutely.
It's fine. Okay, that's how you think. That's
right.
That's what
maturity.
you see. That's how you see. That's fine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
that's how we supposed to be. No
Yeah.
judgment.
because life
It
is
just don't line up.
look, there's so many representations of life within life that people don't even see them
Right.
because life is in phases.
Right.
Just like school. It's K5, it's pre-K, K5,
Mhm.
grade school, junior high school, high
Right.
school, college,
Yeah.
undergrad, graduate school,
Yeah.
career. There's so many phases.
Right.
If I'm 40 years
Systematic
old,
phases,
it's
by the way.
systematic phase, 100%.
Yeah.
If I'm 40 years old, why would I be in junior high school?
Right.
Like, why would I want to stay there?
Right.
It's nostalgic for me to.
Because that's what they're used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can harken back to a time and say, yeah, that was fun. Like, I love the 90s. I do.
Right.
I love them. I love how it made me feel. It was my coming of age. I miss going to the record store, putting the headphones on and listening to an album before I buy it.
Right.
I miss going to Sam Goody and Music Land, and I miss going to buy CDs. I miss all these different things.
Right.
But it prepared me for now.
Right.
So I'm going to miss now 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And
thought process.
that's
y'all.
fine.
Thought
But yeah,
process.
so I just was like, man, I can't keep doing this.
So you're
man.
teaching wholeness. You're also teaching men, like you said, how to be able to kind of relate to their peers. You know, you could stay in contact with your peers, but you don't have to become that. You know,
Yeah,
and if you
yeah,
are
yeah.
in that space, again, you're encouraging them at any point
Mhm.
that they can get out of that. You're an example of what got out of that. You know, so you just showing up, you know, is just, you know, showing up as revelation in their life, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and in
I
their
appreciate
foresight. Absolutely.
Definitely
Keep doing
appreciate
your
it.
thing, King. Keep doing work. Dang, Jesus, we almost done,
That's all
Lord. But
good.
I just had to take advantage of this opportunity to interview you and speak to you today. And I'm glad that I did. Glad that I did. So, again, y'all, Courage Under Fire was an amazing book. Man, amazing book. You just got to
Thank
read
you.
it.
I
You
appreciate
just
you.
got to
Thank
read
you.
it.
Thank you.
If they wanted it, Brad Facts, once again, where would they get that book from?
You can either get it from me, you can contact me, or you can
Come on,
go
let's-
online. You can go Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart. It's on all of their websites.
Yes.
So you can get it a few different places. But if you want it autographed, you can come and get it from me. I mean, if you want it autographed, you can buy it from one of those places that they have me autographed. I definitely will. I'm more than happy to do so. But I do have copies as well. So you got a few options. Life is always
Awesome.
better with options. So
Amen. And we appreciate you for them. And we appreciate the gift that you put into the world. I definitely recommend for our men and women to read this book. So, y'all, he is not just an award-winning author. Like I said, he do a whole bunch of things. So he's also a hip hop artist. And he's also the owner of the brand
yeah, my 3
Principle.
Ps brand. So
Yes.
yeah, this wasn't intentional. Well, it was intentional, but it wasn't part of the plan.
Okay.
Um,
What happened?
what happened
How
was
did that come
I
about?
had a show 2018, I think,
Okay.
and I needed something to wear. And one of the many things I noticed when I first got out was like there's a sense of uniformity in everything, the speech, the dress.
You didn't want to be a part of the
I
system.
didn't want to be a part of that. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't want to look like these motherfuckers. Hell no,
Gotta
yeah,
create
no,
your
I
own.
can't. So there were no t-shirts, there were no hats, none of that. There was I got a Letterman jacket
Mhm.
and I decorated it. Excuse me, and I decorated. And I said, yeah, I bet nobody got this on when I go to the show. Guarantee
Yeah.
that. And that's how it happened. So then
Mindset.
the entire quote is be powerful, be purposeful, and always stand on principle.
Mhm.
So what I did was, once I started putting it on t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that,
You know, I gotta show mine. He done blessed me with a t-shirt,
definitely, yeah,
y'all.
for sure, yeah, look.
Yes, I'm part of the team. Jesus,
yeah,
help me do
definitely.
it.
Once I started putting it on shirts, it was less aesthetically pleasing because it was so many words.
Okay.
So what I
the
did
entire
was,
quote. Okay.
yeah. So what I did was, I shortened it and just put principle because everybody has them.
Yes.
Everybody has a set of principles that they live by.
It's the principle of the
Everybody.
matter.
It
Amen.
is,
Yes.
right. Yeah, it is. It
Mhm.
is. Big Worm said it's the principality. You know what I'm saying? It's that.
Yes,
So,
Lord.
So, I did that and I decided to put power, purpose, and principle down the side of the shirt.
Yes.
And so it just became a thing, and it speaks to, it's all inclusive.
Mhm.
It's all inclusive. You can, the street guys, the women, the pastors,
the preachers.
yeah, they all love it.
Yes.
Because it speaks to whatever it is.
That's within you that you go by.
Yeah.
Your
So I
principles.
said, hey, it's, and it just feels good to be able to provide people with something that's necessary, I guess you would say.
Mhm.
Positively necessary.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to transition to do something different because the road was hard.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, deny that. But I said to myself, all I got to do is do something different than what I was doing. If I do the opposite of what I was doing, I'll be okay.
Right.
And that's basically what all of this is. Everything I've been able to do, I've been blessed to write a book and have people like it, to make a song and have people like it,
Right.
to create a brand and have people like it. It's all, look, the bare bones of it all is you like my thoughts.
Right.
That's really
and truly,
all it is.
it's all of the It's all of the actions, all of the everything that transpired, everything that life has placed
Yeah,
within you.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
we're wearing.
yeah,
We're wearing that. It's your brand, because your brand is a movement.
yeah,
You know, it's who you
yeah,
are, and anybody that knows your story and understands who you are and sees who you are, because you can clearly see it. You can see that strength and that power. You know, it empowers them when they wear it,
yeah.
you know, and it allows them to tap into their principles and tap
Definitely.
into
Yeah.
themselves.
It makes you think about it. Like, yeah, let me
Yeah,
see what I
it's
can
more to it.
stand on this. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yes.
stand on that. Yeah,
Yes, you're
definitely. Yeah.
influencing people to stand and walk in the
Yeah.
principles. I love
My
it. Integrity.
when my mama liked it,
Integrity.
I knew I was on something because she don't like nothing I do. She'd be like, turn that music off.
Ain't nobody
And
got
she liked
time.
the
I
book
love
too.
your
She'd be
music.
like, yeah, ain't nobody got time for
Yes.
that. And I'm
I
like,
love
come on,
it.
huh?
How did you get into music? How did you get into hip hop?
Man, that's funny because my brother was the rapper, you
Right.
know, and I was a NWA fanatic when I
Hmm.
was 8, 9, 10
I
years
believe it.
old. Easy was my guy, man. Like it's just the imagery. Like it was something about seeing them in all black. It was fuck the police. It was just in your face. It was the stuff that I was seeing. It was like, man, I want to know these dudes. I
Right.
want to be that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I was just a huge Easy E fan.
Right.
I like this voice, like
Going against the
like
system. That's
like
what they
all
was
of that,
doing. Yeah.
all of that. You know what I'm
Walking
saying?
in their freedom.
So my brother said to me one day, he said, "Man,
What's
you want to
that?
meet Easy E?"
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah. I'm thinking he knows somebody. I'm only 9. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He like,
Oh,
all you gotta do
Lord.
is be a rapper. I said, what? That's it? I literally went and got a pen and a piece of paper and just started writing what was on in my mind. And
That's
you know, I
where it
had to,
started.
like, that's what it was. And then when Easy died, I was like, oh my God. Man. I was like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but by that time I was a Tupac acolyte. You know, I was like, man, it was Tupac this and Tupac. It was everything.
I was raised off
My
Tupac,
Pac, you know
y'all.
what I'm
That's
saying?
all
It
my
was
mom
just,
listened
man,
to. She ain't listen to old school. She
yeah,
listened to Tupac.
it was Pac for me. It was like,
Yeah.
man. And then when Pac died, it was like, man. But you know, when Afeni passed away, I was like, Afeni died May 2nd, 2016. I got out May 3rd. I was like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like it was, yeah. So, but that's how I got into hip hop, and it was like, you know, I got better at it because I got better as a person. I got better as a writer. You know, Maya Angelou said, "Easy reading is hard writing." You know, so you don't see all of the scribbles and the
Right.
You know, people see the finished product.
Right.
Um,
They don't see the process.
yeah.
I know this is
yeah,
another
that's how I got
podcast,
into
but I
it.
do believe
Yeah.
Tupac and Eazy-E were systematically killed as well.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that.
I just
for a
wanted to
second.
throw that
Yeah,
out there.
yeah,
That
I
is
don't
a
doubt
completely
that.
different podcast, though,
Yeah, I
y'all.
don't
We'll
doubt that
talk
at all.
about that theory.
Yeah, but yeah, that's how I got into hip hop. It was like, man, and then it became therapeutic.
Yeah.
Man, sitting in themselves and just being alone. It was like, man, I gotta say something. You know what I'm saying? And I wrote like crazy, like nonstop. 8, 9, 10 songs a day. I used to just write. Wake up, writing. Every single day I would read and I would write. And that was my thing. I would read, write, work out, read, write. That's all I did. Like no
training.
lie.
He was
I
training.
did it. You know, I come from that kind of discipline because my dad was in the Army. My stepfather was in the Navy. So you know, I come from that kind of discipline. I just had to make sure that I was disciplined in the right thing.
Right.
Because we can be disciplined in the wrong things and excel at that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you want to be disciplined in something that adds value to your life in the best way, shape, and form. Really quick, I know you read a whole bunch of motivational books, right? You read a whole bunch of books that inspired you and encouraged you and all of that good stuff. But what stood out to me in your book, right, was when you wrote, I can't think of the song, but you wrote something and you also put a poem in there as well. And it was at that point when you actually read what you wrote that you kind of like saw the power that was within you.
Yeah. So I don't So working at something, you know the plan is to get good at it. Like
You're
obviously.
great at it.
Yeah, I
But
thank
go
you for that. I
ahead.
really appreciate it. I do for real.
Yeah, make it easy to say.
But you know, working at something, it's like, okay, I'm my plan is to get good. Like that's the
Right.
only reason you practice is to get
Right.
good.
Right.
But then, it was a guy named Precious Ward, right? I looked up to Precious. I did because he was younger than me and probably one of the best guys that could rap that I had ever heard at that time.
Yeah.
I was flowing like, how is this nigga so good?
Shout out.
Shout out to P, man. I couldn't understand how I knew every word that he was saying, but I couldn't put it together. Like how this nigga is good? Like, what's going on, right? So I said to myself, I was about 15, 16, and we was in Wales, Ethan Allen School for Boys. I said to myself, I'm gonna keep going until somebody tell me I'm that good. And that was my goal.
Man.
Like that was that because
powerful.
That was my goal. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like dog was so good. I couldn't believe I can't stress it enough.
And you didn't see his process either. You only saw the finished product. Yeah.
But 2008, about 10 years later, I wrote this song called Hustler's Ideology. I shot the video for it a few years ago. It's on SoundCloud. It's on YouTube and everything. If y'all want to check it out. And my homeboy Carter, shout out to Carter, man. He said, dog, it's 5 people that I got in my top 5. And he said, you, Precious, and I ain't even hear the last 3.
You said I'm in the same field.
I was like, what? Nigga,
Yeah.
like, are you serious? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's dope.
Because I'm never so wrapped up in nothing I do that I can't be inspired by somebody else.
Right.
I'm inspired by good and bad.
Right.
The good,
whether to do it or not to do it,
to be better, and by the negative, I'm inspired never to go down that road. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but yeah, when you work at it, you definitely get good. Like I'm such an advocate of hard work.
Yeah.
Like such an advocate of
you embody
hard
it.
Work.
You embody
grind,
it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I know, you can get to wherever you want to get to. Just put the work in. Just it.
Just put the work in, y'all.
That's the secret sauce.
Just put the work in. Brad Fax is out here encouraging wholeness. Okay. Elevating y'all with some good knowledge and wisdom and encouraging y'all to put in the work to become the best version of yourself, which we speak very often about and encourage on the Shine Your Light podcast. Absolutely. I do want to just put this picture. You got to put the first one up, Tom, the other way. I do want to just put this picture up, y'all, just so y'all can truly see. Brad Fax was 16 years old when he first went into prison, when he first went into, not that one, when he first went into the system. I did see the other one.
And the picture you talking about, I was so there's a institution called RIOT, Racine Youthful Offender Correctional Facility in Racine that opened up on May 11th in 98. And I was one of the first people there on May 11th, 98. They shipped us from Wales. So the ironic thing about this, so I got waived into the adult system, right?
Right.
And I'm like, something ain't right about this. This is what I'm thinking at the time. So they didn't send me to Dodge from the county jail because they said I was too young to go to Dodge. So I'm like, how am
you gonna waive me as an adult?
Yeah.
There he is,
right
y'all.
there, yeah.
16.
Can't see it yet.
Oh. I'm
So,
new to
yeah, I
all
was
the
just like-
technical stuff, y'all.
I was like, how am I too young to go to Dodge?
Yeah.
But I'm in the county jail with everybody that's going to Dodge.
Right.
So what they did was
Make
send
it
me
make
to
sense.
Wales.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Right.
They sent me to
Now
Wales.
they can see it.
And
There we go. 16 years old,
Yeah,
y'all. Brad
yeah.
Fax
They sent me to Wales, and Wales acted
facing
Dodge.
60 years at that time.
Yeah. No, I got the time at the time.
Oh, wow.
I got it. I just got it. That was in 98. I got sentenced in 97
Okay.
and they sent me to Riot. First they sent me to Wales. It's crazy because like the whole thing was a setup.
Mm-hmm.
They sent me to Wales. Everybody is a juvenile. I'm a juvenile as well,
Mm-hmm.
but lawfully I'm not. So let's just say I'd gotten into a fight. I could have been tried again as an adult. They never said this though.
Right. Oh.
So I was there for 9.5, 10 months until
Right.
because Riot was being built.
Okay.
They sent me to Riot in 98.
Steady going through things you shouldn't have necessarily
sent me to
gone
Riot.
through as a child.
In 98.
Right.
And they used us to put the rest of the bunks in the rooms. Like we literally put the beds together
Oh, okay.
in Riot.
Right. They had
And
their
they had
own
a construction
agenda.
team that did this. But when we got there, they used us though, off the record. They lied to the
Wow.
people in the scene and said this is a medium institution, but it was a max.
Right.
So, yeah, but that picture was 1998. I was 16. I had 25 years, man.
And let's look at that final picture when, after serving 17 years
Yeah,
total,
my mama
he came home,
my mama
Tone.
was like,
That final picture with him and his mom.
yeah.
We
I
could
told her
put
not to come and get me. I told her don't come get me.
You-
I
Right.
know, I
She was
did
gonna come
because-
get her baby.
I
First
told her not to come
time.
get me because she came up there for so many years. She hit that highway for so many years, man. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I'm like, you know what? You ain't got to come get me. I'm gonna come to you this time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's all
Nope.
good. Don't worry about it. I'm coming to you.
Couldn't nothing stop mama from
Yeah.
coming up there and getting that
Oh,
hug. First time you
yeah,
hugged
yeah,
her
yeah.
in 17
That was
years.
in front of the house.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Oh
Yeah, that was in front of the
wow.
house.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I
when
just
got
want to
out.
show the people that real quick, and then I know I took up some of your time today, Brad Facts, but again, I
No, you
appreciate
good. I'm
you.
gonna go to Bastille days.
I'm going to,
You going to Bastille
or
days?
Garfield days. We're going.
I think it's
to.
over.
Is it over?
Yeah.
I think Garfield Day goes until like 9 o'clock.
Do it now. Is it 9?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
I'm gonna go to
think
Mr. B's too because they
You're
got
not gonna tell old people they gotta stop partying.
man. Listen, I was down there jamming with him,
Can we get that picture up of his
smoking
mom tone
cigars,
really
eating turkey
quick?
legs.
Pretty please. I just want to show the people.
Oh,
Up
it's
there.
up. You
Oh, it's up.
can
I
see
can't
it.
see it.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay.
yes,
Yeah, that was
you
it,
can
man. My
feel the energy
Yeah.
between him and his
And you
mom
know what's funny?
and the relief.
So I've been locked up so long that she didn't view me as an adult.
I bet you still her baby.
Yeah, I was 34 when I
What?
came home.
Still her
And
baby.
she told me, if you can't be in the house by 10 o'clock. I'm like, what?
She wasn't trying to let you go.
Right,
Yeah, she wasn't trying to let
But
you
no,
go.
it's all love. I love my mama to death, man. That's definitely man, probably one of the
Shining
most
star.
important people ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we don't even get along half the time. Yeah.
But she loved your book just
Mhm.
like all of us do. So
Yeah.
again, if you wanted to get Brad Fax's book, it is called Courage Under Fire. He has some other things coming out really soon too.
Yeah.
If you wanted to purchase any items within his brand, any merchandise, reach out to the King, and he can take care of that for you. I'm gonna be getting a couple more things, y'all. All right.
Yeah, we're making a big thing, man.
Yes, we are. We absolutely are.
2023.
So let's
Short
do it.
year.
Let's do it. Yes, all stars.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank y'all so much for tuning in to the Shine Your Light podcast. This has probably been one of the most memorable podcasts
Oh,
to
I
me and
appreciate
most impactful.
Definitely. I thank
We
you. I
appreciate your
it.
energy. We appreciate the gift that you've given us all. Thank y'all for watching the Shine Your Light podcast. Until next time, y'all, we'll see you soon.